Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TR Schools TV Game of the Week presented by the TREA. Tonight, Week 2 action from Vincent J. Dvorak Field here down Raider Way. It's the Manchester Hawks taking on the hometown Toms River East Raiders. I'm Case Kennerkowski alongside my broadcast partner Greg Mazzo. And Greg, welcome back to the booth. Last week for these Raiders, we were watching, a little disappointment. They lost to Toms River South, heartbreaking way at the end of the game. How are they going to rebound this week?
Well, if you look at last week's game against Toms River South, we both agreed on this as well. We didn't think they played that bad against Toms River South. I thought they ran the football effectively. They ran the ball well. The run blocking offensive line was really good in that game. I thought their defense was also solid. I think the two biggest concerns with Toms River East last week was, number one, they need to get better secondary play, and number two, they need to convert more in the red zone. If they clean those things up, and they clean up the penalties as well in this game, I think they're going to have a really good shot to win this game. And when you look at the side of Manchester, Manchester is a very young, ascending team coming up. But there's one key guy to watch out for tonight if you're Toms River East, and that's Josh Love. Josh Love is very good on both sides of the ball. He's very good in the secondary. He's very good running the football. He had 166 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns in the win over Lakewood. Another kid I'm also looking at as well tonight is Tyrone Benjamin as well, the outside wide receiver. He also had a big game as well last week in the win over Lakewood. And then a guy, Curtis Mayer, watch out for him tonight. He is a freshman. He also had a big game in his debut last week against Lakewood up front. What the way this game is going to come down to tonight is this game is going to be won the way that football games used to be won back in the day. That is winning the games in the trenches.
Absolutely. And you look at these two teams, this is a divisional game, right? The Shore Conference Liberty Division. Last week playing out of the division, both teams, but tonight an opportunity to put another W on the board and be able to try to win the Liberty Division later on in the season.
Yeah, and speaking of these division games, Toms River East's next 3 games are at home. You got Manchester tonight, next week against Pinelands, the week after, which is going to be Toms River East's senior night against Barnegat. Those are games, though, that Toms River East is going to have to take advantage of, because right after those 3 games, that's when their schedule really gets tough. You got to go and play Point Borough, who's one of the best teams in the Short Conference. Then you also got to go play Matawan, who can play a surprise team this year, and they played a really tough Raritan team last week. And then a juggernaut in Toms River North. So if you're Toms River East, I'm looking at these next 3 games. I think they need to go at least 2-1 if they want to try to make the playoffs by the end of the year, or try to get themselves at the top of that division.
All right, here we go. We're ready for opening kickoff here. Bruno's got it up. Short kick. East ball. That's going to be East ball. That went at least 10 yards across midfield. So a quick onside kick there by the Raiders. Raider Nation loves it right in front of us.
They love it immediately, and we saw a little bit of that last week. It looked like Mike Bruno was trying to get some onside kicks last week, but it just didn't go Toms River East's way. And that one, on the first onside kick of the game from Toms River East, they get it to go their way, and just like that, Toms River East defers, and it's almost like they're going to get the ball to start the first half, and they're going to get the ball to start the second half. How crazy is that?
Well, we saw last week here a great start for Coach Mount Martin and South. With that long touchdown run. Fantastic start here for the Raiders as they will have the ball as Coach Farrell there on the other side. We'll get to his backstory in a little while. He's asking for a little bit of an explanation, but...
Actually, are they calling this back?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Raiders. Actually, it looks like the Raiders defense. You're right there. So they're going to possibly say maybe an illegal touch?
That's probably what they're thinking here.
I mean, looking at it live, it was pretty close to the 50-yard line, which is where it had to go.
Yeah, it looked pretty close, but I really thought that ball went 10 yards for it to go East's way. It looks like they might re-kick this. Or no, they're calling it Manchester football here. Yeah, so it looks like
they're going to get the penalty for the touching. They're going to put it at the 36-yard line. So about a 15-yard penalty for illegal touching. So it'll be 1st and 10, Manchester at the East 36-yard line. Quarterback for Manchester is number 12, Aiden Lunn, in what is more of a power spread type look for the Hawks as they'll get things started here. Receiver in motion. And again, a penalty before the ball is snapped. We saw that a lot, and you do see that a lot, right, Greg, early in the season, some of those procedure penalties that push guys back.
Yeah, that's right. You might get some penalties to start the game because you come out a little rusty, you come out a little sluggish. And speaking of that, I think the big key for Toms River East tonight is they got to set the tone early on in this game, because last week against Toms River South, they got off to a really slow start, but they did bounce back, and they were able to come back and tie that game eventually.
Here we go. They'll try it again, 1st and 15, and they get another one. Back-to-back penalties. That time it looked like somebody on the right side of the line moved early. Manchester just going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, so far not a good start for Manchester offensively. 2 straight penalties in a row, something that you don't want to start this game, because I think this is a big game for both teams, Casey. If you're Manchester, you got a first-year head coach in Tommy Farrell. You want to obviously start on a good note, and if you're Toms River East, you don't want to put yourself early on in a hole 0-2 to start this season. So I think it's a big game for both teams, especially since this is a divisional game as well.
Absolutely. And so now we'll try to 1st down and 20 back at the 46-yard line. Looks like a 2-back set. Lund will take the snap, hands it off to Love around the right side, across the 40-yard line, across the 35, getting back the penalty yards and a little bit more. So that explosiveness you were talking pregame for Mr. Love.
Yeah, Josh Love, like I was saying pregame, he is the key guy to watch out for tonight on Manchester. He is a really small back, listed at 5'6", 150. And tonight, if Manchester is going to want to win, Josh Love is going to need to show up tonight. And so far, a good start for Mr. Love.
Absolutely. So now a much more manageable 2nd down, and we'll call it a long 8. Back at the 34-yard line of the Raiders. Lund gets a snap. They'll try it around the weak side this time, and that time Toms River East all over it. Whole bunch of guys there. 88 Buckman in there, along with 64 Big Joe Rome.
Good stop there by Toms River East. We thought last week against Toms River South, they maintained Devin Braun pretty well outside of that first play of the game that he had, which went for a touchdown. But if they can maintain Josh Love in this game, I think Toms River East is also going to have a good chance of winning this game. I don't see this game being a blowout by any means. I think it's going to be competitive from the start to the finish.
Definitely will be. As we see a 3rd and 8. They have to get to the 26 to move the sticks. Lund back to throw, rolling to his right, trying to get it out of the backfield. That's the fullback, number 44, who gets it up to about the 21-yard line. So the 44 guy, Dante Monolite, he's the one that's able to get the 1st down.
And just a beautiful play design there by Manchester, and a nice play action pass there from Aiden Lund. He saw his wide receiver wide open. Running back, sorry. He saw his running back wide open out in the flat, was able to hit him, and Manchester gets himself a 1st down.
And right there, that's something that's plagued East the last couple of years, being able to get off the field on 3rd down. They can't do it there, but let's see if they can bend but don't break here as they've entered the red zone. 1st and 10, 20-yard line. Handoff up the middle, so this time he gets a running play, and that time all over it, number 33, Xander Hall. He came up big last week against Toms River South multiple times for the Raiders defense.
Yeah, and that's just a nice play right there by Xander Hall. You're looking at the linebacking core for Toms River East. It's Xander Hall and Andrew Brush. Those are the key guys in the middle of that 3-4 defense that Toms River East runs.
Exactly, and of course, you look at Manchester, they want to spread you out. We've seen a couple different looks here so far on this opening drive. Trying to get their playmakers the ball in space. This time a 3-wide set with Love in the backfield alongside Lund. Brings the receiver in motion. He's going to roll that way, looking for a screen to Benjamin. East diagnosed it well, can't make the tackle. And Benjamin's going to have enough yards for the 1st down. So you see a little bit of that quick burst of speed you were talking about pregame.
Yeah, and Tyrone Benjamin, we talked about him pregame. As you saw on that play, Manchester sets up a nice screen pass where it was designed for Tyrone Benjamin. And what makes him so good is the ability to make moves just like that, and that speed and elusiveness that he has. And just like that, Manchester is in the red zone here.
Last week when they played Lakewood, they were down late in that 3rd quarter. They scored the final 22 points of the game, so their offense picking up right where they left off a week ago. So it'll be first and goal now for Manchester at the East 9. Warnelight in motion, ball on the ground, and Lund smartly just falls on it as that snap was a little bit wide. Loss of about 6. And that's, again, the break of fortune for Toms River East.
Yeah, Toms River East catches a break there. Talking a little bit about Manchester's first-year head coach, Tommy Farrell, the advantage and disadvantage that Toms River East could have with that. The advantage is that Kyle Sandberg has 7 years of coaching high school football at the varsity level, but the disadvantage could be is they don't know what's coming from this offense because it's a new scheme and it's a new system.
Absolutely. Second and goal from the 16-yard line. This time back to throw. Lund looking. He's got pressure coming from his right side. He's scrambling. Still looking. Flips it out towards the end zone to nobody. A lot of pressure there, especially coming from number 50, Ryan Ushak. Forced the errant throw. Defended very well there by the Raiders.
Yeah, and a great play there by Ryan Ushak to get pressure on the quarterback. It's not all about the sacks and trying to get the big result. And I talked to Ryan Ushak earlier in the week. He told me that we're not going to try to get over that Toms River South loss that we had. We just got to move on. There's still a long season ahead of us, and we just got to go out there and play our game, and we can't worry about anybody else.
So Raider Nation, the cheerleaders, the band getting into it now on a third and goal from the 16-yard line. Just over 8 minutes remaining here in this opening quarter. As Lund goes back to throw yet again, throws it short about the 10-yard line. That's to Benjamin. He makes a cut inside the 5 where he's tackled. So a nice wrap-up job by East, forcing a fourth down.
Yeah, great stop by Toms River East. We'll see what Manchester does here. But going back to Ryan Ushak, remember, Ryan Ushak last year only played 1 game. And that first game of the season last year, which was against Southern, he got hurt with a knee injury and did not play the rest of the year. And he's going to be a key factor for this Toms River East team this year on the defensive side of the ball up front.
So it looks like, judging personnel, it looks like they're going to keep the offense out there on a 4th and goal from the 4. 2 wide receiver look. Fullback, Love in the backfield. Fullback goes in motion, the left side of the line. Handoff, Love, East all over it. Never had a chance. Ushak in there immediately to wrap him up, and East holds on downs.
And like I said, Ryan Ushak, this is why he's such a key player for this team. And that's what Toms River East does. They get off the field on 4th down, do not give up any points. And all that credit right there goes to Ryan Ushak, making that play in the backfield.
And so the Raiders defense on a short field, they hold them. No points allowed. And with just under 8 minutes remaining here in the opening quarter, it'll be the East offense with their first crack at it.
And what we're going to look at with this offense is the Phillip brothers, Avery and Amari. They had big games last week against Toms River South. And if they can run the football effectively in this game, they're going to have a good chance of winning this game. And if they don't run the football effectively, then they're going to have to find other ways to do some things to try to move the ball offensively.
This time a different look here. It looks like Joe Scala being the quarterback as Pines is spread out as a wideout. So a little different look here for the Raiders this week. Jump pass in the front. That should be an incompletion as it was thrown forward. Forward pass, incomplete. No harm, no foul, but boy, that was close.
Yeah, definitely the right call. That is an incomplete pass, though. And you kind of can say a little bit of nerves right there once the play or once the drop kind of happened there, because you kind of thought it was a fumble, but it's a forward pass, so that's an incomplete pass.
That's a tough one there. Nevin Hart, number 8, on it. Dropped it. He comes off the field. 2, Brian Schnurr coming in. As Pines looking at the sideline. So we were talking pregame, a little question about coming into the season who the quarterback would be. Last week it looked like Pines. Scala mixed in maybe a little bit here too as well.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting what Kyle Sandberg is wanting to do to start this game.
As a 2nd down and 10, Schnurr in motion. Hand off to Phillips up the middle. And that ball is on the ground. They're going to roll him down first after a gain of about 2. So they'll bring up a 3rd and long for the Raiders.
Yeah, and before the year, Kyle Sandberg was talking about his offensive line being the biggest strength of his football team. And why did he say that? Because he's got a lot of returners coming back. He's got Joe Rome, who's the captain. He's got Nicky Longo, who didn't play last year because of a torn ACL. He's got James Lynch, who's a sophomore. He's also got Dougie Spadero as well, and Derek Weltman. He's got a lot of returners on the offensive line, and he's got some young players. So at the same time, he's got some experience, and he's got some young guys on this offensive line that he can utilize in the blocking game.
Let's see what the Raiders can draw up here on a 3rd down and 8 from their own 8-yard line. Pines takes the snap, hands it off to Phillips. This is Avery Phillips, breaks a tackle, can't get out of the second one though, and he'll come up a few yards short, creating a punting situation for Mike Bruno.
And right there, that was a big tackle there by Dante Moratella, because if Avery Phillips stays on his feet there, he's getting himself a 1st down. That was a big play there by the Manchester sophomore.
And so Bruno comes on to punt, and back deep, the speedster, the playmaker, number 5, Josh Love. Bruno, that one, he had to come to a knee. That may be a safety. That will be a safety. He took one knee before he was able to get the ball off. And so an errant snap leads to a safety against Toms River East.
And so far, early on in this game, Toms River East has had a lot of miscues. You saw that play that Nevin Hart dropped that forward pass on that little toss. And on the other play, it looked like Phillips fumbled the ball, but his knee was down. And you kind of don't need those type of miscues on your team, especially early on in this game. And right there, it kind of looked like a bad snap, and Bruno had to go down and get that ball. And his knee was essentially down. So far, not a good start for Toms River East offensively. They're going to have to clean up these miscues.
Absolutely, and you never know, those 2 points can always make a difference in a game, later in a game as well. The 2 guys who coach special teams for Toms River East, you got Joe Arminio Jr. and Frank Giannetti. I mean, it's not that necessarily the coaching was bad on that. It was just, you're Bruno, you're back there, you want to get it off, especially in your end zone. And he just happened to have his knee on the ground when he had the ball.
Speaking of Mike Bruno, last week against Toms River South, if his kick doesn't get blocked when the game was tied at 14 with 4:30 left to go in that game, I say Toms River East wins that game, because at that moment, that changed the whole momentum of the game. And that's why Toms River South was able to drive down the field and get themselves the game-winning score.
Absolutely. So now coming out of that safety, it'll be East to kick it back to Manchester. Manchester should have fantastic field position coming out of this one. As the crowd here, the Raider Nation crowd, got a little bit, not necessarily somber, but they're a little on edge right now after seeing a little shaky start by the Raiders.
Yeah, it looks like Raider Nation might be a little nervous out there, but this crowd is still going to be in it from start to finish, because these guys and girls are really passionate about the game of football, especially when they're seeing their friends play out there.
And so Bruno to kick it away. Back deep, it's Castellan and Love. And they kick it in the direction of Love, who's going to field it at the 25-yard line. Fakes the handoff. No, he does hand it off to Castellan. Reversing field. Across the 40, still going. And a nice return there by Eli Castellan, the senior running back for Manchester, setting him up at the 46-yard line.
So far, we can say early on in this game that Manchester's special teams has played a factor, because they were you can't really say that, because that was kind of Toms River East's miscue on that safety. But if you look at the results and you look at the stats, Manchester's special teams has been really good so far to start this game.
Yeah, they've done their job, and now the Hawks, after that last drive, ended on a turnover on downs. Deep inside Raider territory, they look to spread them out again and move the ball down the field. Allen in motion, gets a handoff. It's going to be a pass going long for Benjamin. He's open. He runs under it, and that'll be a touchdown for Manchester. So a little trickeration there by the Hawks, and it works out well, resulting in a touchdown.
Wow, what a big play there by Manchester, as Eli Castle got the ball on a little handoff where we thought he was going to run for it, and the whole defense of Toms River East snuck in thinking that he was going to run the ball, and instead he was able to throw it and saw his big-time receiver, Tyrone Benjamin, wide open for a huge touchdown. If you're Manchester, you cannot ask for a better start to start this game.
Nope, and they got it. Coach Farrell there celebrating on the other sideline with The running back turned quarterback on that play, who threw a bomb right down to Benjamin. And the extra point here, Horowitz on, it's blocked. So a little break there for East, but still an 8-0 ball game for Manchester.
Yeah, so far, like I said, a good start for Manchester. I also want to say this as well. When you look at Toms River East's schedule this year, it's kind of similar to the schedule that they had in 2019. Now, remember in 2019, Toms River East went 9-2, but a lot of those games that they won that year was one-possession games. They were tough, grinded-out games. And if Toms River East is going to win games this year, that's the way that they're going to have to win games. They might not go 9-2, but if they win games this year, those are the type of games that they're going to have to win. They're going to have to win tough, grinded-out, physical, come down to the last play, come down to the fourth quarter type of games.
Absolutely. And if you look at Manchester, last year they did not win a road game. They've historically struggled in these games. Don't win a lot of back-to-back games here. It'll be the first time that they were looking to win back-to-back games since 2022, or 2020 rather, excuse me. So, they're right in the heart of it, right where they want to be.
Yeah, Manchester is a team that lost a lot of guys from this past year. They lost guys like Savon Myers, who was the quarterback, and he's an incredible athlete. He's also an incredible basketball player as well. Was an 1,000-point scorer at Manchester High School, and a good wide receiver in Damari Brown, who holds the Manchester record for basketball for most threes made in the season.
So here's Gold to kick it away. He kicks it short. Be fielded by an up back. That's Avery Phillips. Got a convoy of blockers here. He's dragging a Manchester guy with him, and he gets his way up to the 36-yard line. That's where East will start drive number 2 of the night.
Yeah, we were talking about the quarterback controversy early on in the year for Toms River East. And why did we bring that up is because we didn't know who the quarterback was going to be before the year. Where we look at Toms River South, we all knew that James Alexander was going to be their quarterback before the year. For Toms River North, we obviously knew that Micah Ford was going to be their quarterback. But for Toms River East, we didn't know if it was going to be Joe Scala or Brandon Pines. And they decided to go with Brandon Pines. In my opinion, I think they went with Brandon Pines is because Kyle Sandberg needed Joe Scala on defense, and Kyle Sandberg is the type of coach that never likes to play his quarterback on defense.
Exactly. So we're going to see the East drive start. A little over 5 minutes remaining in the opening quarter, down by 8. As you get a handoff to Phillips, he's got a nice run across the weak side, almost near a first down. See if they're going to mark him with a full 10. Maybe just short. Good 9.5, but a solid run there by the senior.
And this is where Toms River East is going to win this game. They're going to win this game on the ground, and this is the way they're going to move the football in this game. Right there, a great run by Amari Phillips. A little bit of a cutback there as well.
So you got it. 2nd down and 1 coming up for the Raiders. Going up against a 4-2 defense for Manchester. So you see a lot of different looks there, a lot of hybrid looks there from Manchester throughout the night. We see Hart in motion. They run the same play, identical play to Phillips, and it works like a charm again across midfield, getting the first down.
Nicky Longo, the center for Toms River East. His father is Jay Longo, who was the athletic director at Brick Township High School and also coached Kyle Sandberg back in the day. And Nicky Longo is a kid that did not play last year because of a torn ACL. But he's coming back this year stronger and better than ever.
You're seeing the last 2 plays there, that whole East line doing their job, creating a hole, and Phillips running through, and now they're on the plus side of the field with a 1st and 10 at the Manchester 49-yard line. Looks like the spellback Avery Phillips checking in the ball game. 4 wide set for the Raiders. Pines hands it off to Phillips. That time, no place to go. Big old number 53. It looked like Mason Davis came in, a sophomore, to make the tackle. And so we were talking pregame, too. A lot of younger players on this Manchester squad.
And speaking of those younger players, Mason Davis is one of those young players on this Manchester team, and he makes a nice play in the middle there. If you look at this Manchester team, especially their defensive line and their offensive line, they missed their left side of their offensive line in last week's game against Lakewood. So they have some of these beef guys up front coming back for this team this week.
Yeah, speaking of which, your number 69, Gavin Herc, checking in the ball game. He's only a junior. He's 6 foot, 285 pounds. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want a 285-pound guy running after me to try to tackle me.
Oh, especially. Especially not me, too.
There we go. Nice open field tackle by Manchester, but not before Amari Phillips gets a Raiders first down. So that offense starting to click a bit here.
That's right. And another great run there by Amari Phillips. And like we were saying before, this is where Toms River East is going to win this game. They're going to win this game on the ground. This is the way they're going to move the ball. And so far, another great run by Amari Phillips as he's really starting to get it going in this game. And wait until we see the other brother as well, Avery Phillips. He's another key guy to look out for. That's a great combination of Avery Phillips and Amari Phillips. That is the Phillip brothers.
Absolutely. The last 3 runs for him, 26 yards on the ground. And so it'll be 1st and 10 Raiders at the Manchester 38-yard line. Pines with Hart coming in motion. Hands off bobbles. That's a couple times they've had a little bit of an errant exchange. Luckily, Phillips corrals it and gets back maybe a yard on that play.
Yeah, and a nice play there by Dylan Collin, dragging or pulling Amari's arm a little bit so that his defenders, and can slow down Amari a little bit, can slow down Amari Phillips, and the defenders was able to clean up that tackle. So a good play there by Dylan Collin, who is a junior.
So coming up here inside of 2 minutes remaining in the opening quarter. Toms River East down 8-0, but driving here with a 2nd down and 9 from the 37-yard line. This one keeper by Pines. He's got a blocker in front. That's Rome. Couldn't get out of the tackle. That was number 4 there, MJ Goins. Gets a pickup of around 3. It'll bring up a 3rd and medium for the Raiders.
Yeah, MJ Goins is a player we didn't talk about yet. He's one of those big new incomers on this Manchester team. And before the season, he was also listed as Manchester's new impact comer coming into the season. And it was kind of surprising that they went with him. And they could have probably went with a lot of other players on this team, but they decided to go with MJ Goins. He is a sophomore running back and defensive back.
So here we go. We got a 3rd down, and we'll call it 5 inside of a minute here in this opening quarter. Pines looking to the sideline to try to get some final instructions from Coach Sandberg. And it looks like they want to get more on the same page. They'll call timeout here with about 40 seconds remaining in our opening quarter. A game that's 8-0 Manchester.
Yeah, and I like the way Toms River East is managing this drive so far. They've been able to run the ball effectively. They're getting their run-blocking offensive line going. Something that we may not see in this game, especially later on in the game, or if Toms River East sometime in this game could be down by a lot, they might have to start throwing the ball more. But this is really where they're going to win this game. It's going to be on the ground. And if they continue to run the football effectively, they're going to really come back in this game like they did last week against Toms River South, and they might make it a game again.
Absolutely. You know, Greg, we were talking pregame as well about some of the short conference games that we're looking forward to going on tonight. On the north side of town, North is taking on, as the number 2 team at the shore, they're taking on Southern. And we'll get to the rest, you know, with Toms River South playing Brick as well in a little while. But we got a 3rd down and 5 here. Phillips cuts back, counter play across the 25-yard line, picks up the 1st down and more.
And right there, just another big run there by Amari Phillips. And speaking of those other games, Toms River North going up against Southern. We know how good of his team Toms River North is. They had a great start to the season. They had a big win against Washington Township at the Battle of the Beach. And last week at Rutgers against Rumson. And Micah Ford is the key of that team. He is the star of a show player. We're going to see him next week going up against Central Regional High School. That should also be a fun game as well.
That'll be a good one. That'll be here on TR Schools TV from the north side of town as we get a 1st and 10 at the 22-yard line for Toms River East. Handoff, Avery Phillips. He's in the clear right now. Breaks a tackle, gets close to the 1st down. So we're seeing big chunks, big runs here from the Raiders on this drive.
And this is why Joe Rome is the key player on this offensive line for Toms River East. You saw on that play, he was able to just push his guy out of the way just to create a good big hole right there for Avery Phillips. And this is why this running game is starting to get going now for Toms River East, is because the offensive line has been able to block for their running backs. And if they continue to do this as this game goes on, Toms River East is going to put up points, and they're going to continue to move the ball and control the time of possession, which is also very important as well.
Yeah, so we've come to the end of the 1st quarter here from Dvorak Field here on TR Schools TV. It's a 8-0 lead for the visiting Manchester Hawks. And we're going to get to, again, some of those big games. A couple top 10 matchups I know we were talking about as well. Number 3, Middletown South playing at number 8, Manalapan. You were interested, I know, in that Manasquan Point Borough game, a 7 versus 4.
Yeah, both teams are really good in the short conference. Point Borough is ranked number 4. Manasquan is ranked number 7. And this is a big rivalry game because we talked about this as well pregame, especially with these type of games as well, whether it's East Manchester, East North, East South. There's always going to be a lot of social media going on between the fans. And that could kind of get out of hand a little bit, but for the most part, it's always fun at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely. We love that a little bit up here in the booth. Gives us something to talk about. I'm just glad the band kind of just stopped playing momentarily, because you could tell as he started to drive the ball across your screen, the band got a little louder, just a little bit, and Raider Nation got a little bit louder.
Listen, I know how it is to be in Raider Nation. I'm in there all the time, especially last week when you were doing that game against Toms River South, and I wasn't in the booth with you. I was in Raider Nation, and years ago I've been in Raider Nation many times, so I know how it is in there.
On the ground reporter for us here on TR Schools TV. Counter play, nice move to Scala for a touchdown. Excellent play call coming out of the quarter break, and the senior runs it in for an East touchdown.
What a beautiful play design there by Kyle Sandberg, and just a beautiful handoff there to Joe Scala, where he had a wide open gap up the middle, and that was just such good blocking by Toms River East's offensive line that Joe Scala wasn't even touched on that play. What a way for Toms River East to answer right back.
So Joe Scala with a touchdown, and now Mike Bruno going to try to add the extra point. Scala will hold as you hear the East Fight song playing. Snap is good, hold is good, kick is up, and it is good. So first play of that second quarter, East answers the Manchester drive with a touchdown of their own. They still trail though, 8-7.
But that's what we saw last week with Toms River East. They got off to a really slow start last week against Toms River South. They were down 14-0 5 minutes into the game, and then they stormed back. And so far early on in this game, they go down 8-0 to start the game, and then they answer back with a touchdown, and now it's a 1-point game. This team, East team, I think they're a lot different team than they were last year. And I know that they're in a lot easier division this year, but the fight in this team is unreal.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing if you're going to give Coach Sandberg a lot of credit. I know I mentioned this last week. The record doesn't really speak for just how much he's done in terms of improving this program from where it was when he took over.
Yeah. When players play hard for your coach, that's saying a lot, because it may not always be about the record, it may not be about how you play, but if the players are always playing hard until the end, which this East team does, that's really saying a lot about your head coach and your coaching staff.
And so it'll be back deep. It'll be Castellan and Love for Manchester. As the coaches are getting a little last-minute instructions there. We saw East on that opening kickoff almost very close to getting an onside kick. So we'll see what Mike Bruno decides to do here. Remember, the ball has to go 10 yards before the kicking team touches it in any way, shape, or form. So let's get to at least the 50. This one, Pooch, fair catch called for at the 39-yard line by number 22 there. That's Anthony Carino. And so the Raider Nation fans, they didn't like that fair catch very much.
Yeah, Raider Nation, they're always going to go at it with the players, and they're always going to call out players. And, the times I was in Raider Nation last week, players, the fans, the Raider Nation guys, they're always going to try to go at it with the players and stuff. They're always going to try to call out players. But Raider Nation, at the end of the day, they're great. They're great people, and they're always there no matter what to support their team and their friends.
I tell you what, the theme tonight, red, white, and blue, this is one of my favorite games always to cover because they do it so well, celebrating the country, greatest country in the history of the world. So we'll get Manchester started here on this drive at the 39-yard line. Handoff to Love. That time, no place to go. Looked like that was Amari Phillips in on the tackle along with Joe Rome. Joe Rome Hasn't played football for a very long time, but he's a very talented football player.
That's right. He played last year as a starter on the offensive line, and this year he's coming into the season as the key player for this Toms River East team. Joe Rome is a good player on both sides of the ball. He's a very good blocker, and he's very good up front on defense.
So no gain on that one for Manchester. We'll give him maybe a half yard on that one, so we'll call it a 2nd and long 9. At the time, couple of Manchester guys looked like they were a little bit unsure what was going on, so a timeout called by Coach Farrell here at the 11-11 mark. Make a wish as we go to a timeout for the Hawks.
You know, going back to talking about Kyle Sandberg before, also when you're around Kyle Sandberg, he's really a fun guy to also be around. You can have conversations with him, and he just seems like a guy that's, you know, you would love to be around. He's a good guy, he's a fun coach to be around, and he's really for the players. Like, it's really not about himself. He really wants to do this for the players and his program, and it's only going to make him a better coach in the future.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's the one thing that a lot of people forget about, too. Usually a lot of, you know, parents and even some of the players that don't necessarily play, you know, they're back in the depth chart. You're trying to mold good, solid young men and young citizens here, too. So, you know, Coach Sandberg has done that, being that mentor, being that kind of fatherly figure to some of these players as a solid role model.
That's right, and that's the way he wants to build this program. He wants to build this program with a full guys that just go out there and they play the game, and they always play hard.
So now coming out of this timeout, be a 2nd and long 9 for Manchester at the 40-yard line. Hand off to Love along the weak side. He's got a little bit more space, but a nice tackle coming up there from the cornerback spot was Brian Schnurr. Gain of about 3. And it'll bring up a 3rd down and long for Manchester.
Speaking of the red, white, and blue that we were talking about earlier, the red, white, and blue that I'm wearing is a Giants shirt because the Giants colors are red, white, and blue. And that fits us, and that fits me personally because I'm a Giants fan, and it's red, white, and blue. And so are you, Casely. Just hoping the Giants get a win this Sunday against Tennessee. They're gonna have to find a way.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Well, they gotta find a way to stop King Henry.
Hey, they're gonna win more games hopefully than they won last year, but you know it's a rebuilding process. Here we go, 3rd down and 7. Back to throw. Lund looking left, looking right, rolling to his right. He might run with it. Almost got him from behind. Phillips slows him down. Bobbles the ball. A big hit there from the secondary. That was Hart who stopped him in his tracks about 3 yards short of 1st down yardage.
Yeah, nice play there by Toms River East's defense. They were able to slow down Aiden Lund on that play, which made Nevin Hart come up and make that big tackle there. And just like that, Toms River East is going to get the ball back.
You know, Craig, I don't know if you've noticed this, but sometimes in high school and even in college, you ever notice the quarterback waits too long to make that commitment? Like if you're going to run with the ball, you got to make that commitment early so you get more of a head start on it.
I think when you have more experience as a varsity quarterback, it's a lot easier to make a decision. But when you're a first-year quarterback, things might be a little bit difficult.
So Horowitz to punt it away. He gets it off quick. Nobody back deep for the Raiders. Takes kind of a sideways bounce and will fall dead at the 23-yard line. That's where it's down here with 9:15 remaining here in this 2nd quarter. An 8-7 ball game as we've got a Raiders player down behind the play.
Looks like that's MJ Williams.
MJ Williams, number 72. That's another player that Coach Sandberg was raving about in the preseason, and he had some really nice tackles along the interior of that line last week.
Yeah, MJ Williams is one of those kids that's a big guy up front on both sides of the ball. And like you said, Sandberg was raving about this guy because he's a guy that can really make an impact on the game, especially for this Toms River East team.
So the staff will go to him, some training, as we've got trainer Kristen there going and attending to him. And so we got a little timeout, a little break in the action here. You know, Coach Farrell, kind of an interesting story. He's a Toms River guy, right? He went to Hooper Avenue Elementary School, went to Intermediate East, Donovan Catholic, class of 2013, where he's a linebacker, captain of the team, 3-year letter winner, all shore, all county, all division. Went to Stonehill College, and then before coaching, was actually a radio producer for 101.5. That's a heck of a career.
That is, and just a lot of those accolades can really get you to a point where you want to be in your career and what you want to be in the future. You always start up with things to start up for big things in the future, and all those accolades that Tommy Farrell had made him get to the point to where he is now, a 27-year-old head coach who won his first career game last week, and now looking for number 2.
And so as we get back to the action after the timeout, it'll be 1st and 10 Raiders at their own 23-yard line as they look to try to go down here and reclaim the lead. Back to throw, Pines, rolling to his right, looking to his right, throws it deep. He's got him back there, he's got it. That's Schnurr, can he outrun him? 20-10, down from behind at about the 9-yard line. So it was Manchester with a long pass play. Now East answers with a long pass play on the first play of the drive.
Yeah, and as you saw on that play, Brandon Pines was signaling Brian Schnurr deep to where he was going to throw that ball, and Brian Schnurr just makes a beautiful turnaround catch, and he turns up the field to get himself some extra yards until he's tackled inside the red zone.
So a 69-yard pass play between Pines and Schnurr sets it up with a 1st and goal at the 8-yard line.
Speaking of Brian Schnurr, he also played last year, but then not played towards the end of last year. But so far this year, he's got off to a pretty good start and a nice catch there that he made. So Toms River East, the momentum has really switched quickly in this game.
Definitely, you could feel it below us. With Raider Nation, the band, everybody getting amped up here as East has an opportunity to go punch it in and take the lead. As Pines takes a breath, receiver in motion, handoff. Phillips, Amari Phillips around the right side. That time, ball on the ground, and it's recovered by Manchester. So boy, oh boy, what a change of events there as Manchester creates a huge turnover.
And that could be the momentum changer right there for Manchester. They really needed a big play for a spark, and that might be one right there.
Now, you were talking pregame, last week, you go back to that South game, when the Bruno kick got blocked, all the momentum that was on East side kind of flipped back to South. Similar kind of thing going on right now.
That's right, and that could all be caused with miscues. And right there, you saw a miscue right there with Toms River East. You had a miscue early on in this game as well. That is something that Toms River East is going to have to clean up later on in this game.
And so Manchester getting the ball back here with a little over 8 minutes remaining here in the second quarter. Up 8-7, handoff to Love. Very patient, gets around the outside. And luckily, Scala was there to clip him out of bounds. Otherwise, he would have been off to the races for a touchdown. He was patient, got around the edge, and got a gain of 13 and a first down.
And this is why Love is so good, because it looked like he was about to break off for a big run there. But if it wasn't Joe Scala making that big tackle right there, he would have been off to the races. He is a big play type of player. And luckily, Toms River East didn't let him get into the end zone.
Yeah, tonight here so far, Love, 6 carries, 27 yards. So he's been held, for the most part, in check. But, that's one of those things you don't want to give him too many opportunities because he will take advantage of it. So a 1st and 10 up here at the 21-yard line. Love up the middle, and he's a bruising back inside there. Gets a gain of about 5 on first down.
Also, the more and more opportunities you give for Josh Love, which means that he's going to eventually start to get going later on in this game. We always talk about players getting better as the game gets on. That's the type of player that Josh Love is. He is the type of player that gets better as the game gets on.
Absolutely. And so we got a 2nd down and 4 coming up here for Manchester. Looks like they're going to stay with that 2 wide receiver set, blocking back, and Love in the backfield next to Lund. Hands off. This time, no place to go. Toms River East all over it. That looked like that might have been Phillips there, on the tackle. And a loss on that one, so now it sets up a 3rd down and long.
And Avery Phillips not only can do it on the offensive side of the ball, but he can also do it on the defensive side of the ball. Just a great read play there by Avery Phillips, who was a sophomore, and comes up and makes a nice big play right there.
So now East here with a 3rd down opportunity, trying to get them off the field, get a possession possibly before halftime, maybe go in with the lead, which would be huge for them. Have to get to the 31-yard line to move the chains. Lund back to throw, looking to his right. Similar play that they scored the touchdown on. This time, though, East not going to allow him anywhere near that line of scrimmage. And so that time the ball was completed to Goins, number 4, but a whole host of Raiders in on it to make the stop, and it'll be a 4th down and a long one.
Yeah, it was a similar play that Manchester did early on in the game where they did a play-action pass, and right there they had 4 or 5 East defenders right there to make that play and put Manchester nowhere to go.
So now Manchester in their own territory at their 30-yard line. Under 6 minutes remaining here in the opening half. Offense staying out on the field. A bit of a gamble here from a young coach. But he's got a lot of confidence in that offensive line. You were saying earlier about the trenches being the difference. We'll see it right here on this 4th and short. Handoff Love. 1st down. And so they move the chains. You like that call there in that situation?
I do. And even for a first-year head coach like Tommy Farrell, he was able to roll the dice and get himself the 1st down on that play. And you talked about the trenches. That's a play why this game is going to come down to the trenches. 4th and 1 in your own territory. Tommy Farrell rolling the dice, getting him the 1st down with his big-time player, Josh Love.
And so here we go, a fresh set of downs, 32-yard line. Lund back to take the snap, blocking back in motion. Hand off to Love. He's been the story so far in this drive. He gets to the outside across the 40. Jump cut as he makes his way out of bounds, but not before. He picks up a Manchester 1st down. Raider player down in back of the play. That's Avery Phillips. And so a 1st down there for Manchester, but an injured Raider as he went down fairly quickly.
Boy, that is not a player you want to lose if you're Toms River East.
Definitely not a player you want to lose. He's so meaningful on both sides of the ball, right? The spellback on offense for his brother. And then on defense, we've heard his name called a couple times tonight with huge tackles.
That's right. He also made a tackle for loss as well on this same drive. But going back to Josh Love, this is why he is so good, and this is why he is such a key player to this team, is because of the elusiveness, the ability that he can make moves. And as you saw there, he even leaped over a defender as well to not trip over the defender.
And good to see him up on his feet here as he's walking his way back towards the sideline.
Also, the advantage for small running backs is that it's harder for the taller defenders to make tackles because they have to get really down and get really low to try to make the tackle, especially for a kid like Josh Love, who has a lot of moves in his game.
Absolutely. And go see if we get some scores here. The thing that's interesting, we started about 6:15 tonight. A lot of these other games, including that big Manasquan Point Borough game, starts at 7. So we'll see what we can get here. Not many scores as of yet. We got a score here from Brick Memorial leading Red Bank 21-0. Not much else here on the board yet as we get a 1st down run. This time Love again around the right side. Keeps his feet churning, gets up to about the 47-yard line. Gain of 4 on 1st down. Pretty impressive running back.
He is a really impressive running back, and we talked about him on the pregame show that he was going to be a big factor if Manchester's going to want to win. If you're Toms River East, this is the main guy that you're going to have to stop on this offense.
Yeah, the Raiders here, they got a nice surge last week against that South line. Starting to get a little bit more rhythm, you're sensing, though, from the Manchester offense.
Yeah, and so far I think Tom's River East in this game, they've done a pretty good job maintaining Josh Love of not getting any big runs so far in this game.
We go 2nd down and 6. Handoff Love. He's been the exclusive back on this drive. Gets to the outside across the 40, down near the 30, and just like that, I mean, it's hard to control a guy when he gets so many touches.
That's right, and like we were saying earlier, Josh Love is eventually going to get going, and he's going to break off for one of these big runs. And just like you saw right there, he broke off for a big run, and creeper and more, Manchester is getting closer into Tom's River East's territory, red zone.
Yeah, the first 3 carries actually for Love, it was only 3 carries for 10 yards. In the 10 since, he's at 59 yards. So you see that impact as the game goes on, as you were saying.
Got one-on-one on the right with Benjamin and Hart.
Let's see if they go to it. Handoff up the middle. Change of pace there for Mortalite as he gets his hands on the ball up to the 26-yard line. Solid gain. As Ushak here, looks like he may have got hit right on the chest on that one. He got up a little slow, but he's stretching it out. That's good to see. Coming up on the 3-minute mark here in this first half. Manchester up 8-7, looking to add to it here. Lund takes a snap, handoff back to Love around the left side. No place to go there. As that time, number 7 on the Raiders there, Brian Barnes, was not allowed to get him out of his grasp, and he actually lost a few yards on that one.
Yeah, and just on that play, Brian Barnes was right all over Josh Love's back, and he was able to make a nice big play on that play for a loss of yardage. And if you're Tom's River East here, 3rd down, whatever Manchester does, if they don't convert here, whether they want to kick the field goal or they want to go for it on 4th down, Tom's River East needs to find a way to get off the field here on this drive, especially right before halftime.
Exactly. 3rd down and 6 coming up. We saw earlier on this drive, though, Coach Farrell went for it in his own territory, so you have to wonder whether or not this might be 2-down territory. Set up here a 3-wide receiver set with a tight end in the ball game now. This time fakes the handoff, throws it back to him, Castleton. And that time East, very smart. Ushak was there along with Barnes. They read that play well and came up and made the tackle.
That's right, and that's the type of stop that Tom's River East needs. Now let's see what Manchester is going to do on this 4th down, because we're talking about big plays, and we talked about earlier on in this game that if Tom's River East is going to win these close type competitive games, these one-score games, these are the type of plays that they're going to have to make, especially like one right now that we're about to see.
And so about 1:20 remaining here in this opening half. Wonder if Coach Farrell's not going to allow the clock just to run down, take a timeout, think about it, minimize the amount of time for East to potentially have the ball back if they were to fail.
That's the most important thing. You do not want to give Tom's River East the ball back with time where they have a chance to come down and drive down the field to score. If you're Manchester, or if you're even Tom's River East, you want to go into halftime with a lead. I think that's the big important thing you want to have, because it's going to give your team more confidence, and it's going to give you more flexibility to make more adjustments as this game goes on.
Yeah, so a timeout here with 58 seconds remaining. They'll have one more to use. Taking a look around the shore here, that Point Borough game now just finally getting underway as we've hit the 7 o'clock hour. Sun looking like it's almost down. Lights are on bright, no shadows on the field this week.
Yeah, definitely beautiful night for a game like tonight. Obviously, there's no better feeling when football season starts. School's starting back up, the kids are back in school, the kids and friends get to see each other again. You get to go to the football games with all your friends and be in Raider Nation. I mean, it's just a fun time. It really, really is.
Yeah, the whole student experience, right? Whole student experience.
That's right, especially for the upcoming freshmen as well.
Definitely.
Even if freshmen, incoming freshmen have came to these games before, they weren't in Raider Nation. But now since they're in high school, they get to be in Raider Nation, so they get that experience, and they get what they get what it is to be in Raider Nation.
Absolutely. So now coming out of that timeout, a 4th down and 6 from the 27-yard line. Goins and Love in the backfield. Lund takes a snap, fakes it, rolling to his right, going deep here towards the end zone. That one is caught. Hart was covering, but caught by number 3, Antonio Sarama, for the touchdown. So just like that, 2 passing touchdowns for Manchester on the night, and they extend their lead.
And on that play, Tom Zora East was playing the 2 deep safety back, and they had those safeties come up, which allowed Antonio Samara to go one-on-one with Nevin Hart, and he was able to get some separation on Nevin Hart and able to make a nice catch for a touchdown. This is a good ending for Manchester going into halftime with under a minute to go.
And so the extra point is good. So it makes it a 15-7 lead for the visitors here. Like you were saying, Greg, momentum going into halftime, critical, especially on the road.
That's right, and I go back to that fumble that Amari Phillips had in the red zone. I thought that really changed the whole momentum of the game. As we saw that started this game, Manchester had the momentum to start the game, and then it kind of flipped over once East really started to get their offense going. They started to run the football effectively with Avery and Amari. Brandon Pines was able to connect with Brian Schnurr on that deep pass. And then right when Amari had that fumble, that's when really things switched up and the momentum changed right from there. So you kind of look at it as a back and forth game. It's a game of momentum.
Absolutely. And so now Tom Zora East about 50 seconds to work with. They have 2 timeouts. So you have to think if they could get a solid return here, they might be able to do some things, some quality things with the football. Otherwise, they'll probably pack it in and play for the second half.
I just think it all depends on where this spot and how these special teams are going to be for Toms River East here. If they get good field position, then it looks like Kyle Semrick might want to try to go down the field and get himself a score before halftime.
On back deep, he's got Hart. Consuelo as well. Let's see how far they decide to kick it, though. As they'll side kick it. And that one fielded by Brush on a hop at the 36-yard line. Did his best Derek Jeter impersonation there. Feel it on the side, you know.
Yeah. Speaking of Derek Jeter, they're also doing Derek Jeter's Hall of Fame ceremony tonight at Yankee Stadium. And as you
How about that?
Yeah. And as you know me, I'm a huge Yankee fan, and you're a big Braves fan.
We won't talk about that 96 series or the 99 series. We won't talk. We'll forget about that.
Hey, you can watch the Jeter documentary.
I may have had to fast forward through some of those. It was too painful, just too painful.
Yeah, the Braves had all those good pitchers back in the day. John Smoltz.
Yeah, Glavine, Maddox, all those guys.
They were all great.
Leo Mazzoni, great pitching coach. Bobby Cox, the manager. Yankees had a dynasty. That was, one of the best teams. You probably won't see those kind of teams anymore. Pines rolling to his left here. Couldn't get out of the grasp. That was number 50 coming up on a tackle. No, excuse me, 60 on the tackle. That was Curtis Mayer, the freshman you were talking about pregame.
Yeah, Curtis Mayer, this is why we were talking about him pregame, because last week he had a big game against Lakewood, and there he comes up with a sack. Curtis Mayer is a freshman, so playing first year as a varsity freshman is kind of unreal. You don't really see that a lot, but you get the experience early on, and so far he's been making an impact for Manchester, and that's a good thing because early on, later in your high school career, you're only going to get better, and you're only going to get stronger, and you're only going to get used to the system more often.
Absolutely. So that was the last play of this first half between the Hawks and the Raiders. As Tom Zora East, they'll pack it in. They'll go for the second half kickoff. They will receive it. And so we saw a lot of scoring there in the first half. Back and forth game, momentum swings. But at half, it's going to be Manchester 15 and Tom Zora East 7. Any final thoughts before we head for a little break in halftime?
I think Manchester's going to have a lot of confidence going into halftime because of that touchdown that they had under a minute to go at the end of the half. And if you're Toms River East, you're going to have to figure out some adjustments. And I really think Toms River East offensively has been moving the ball by running the football effectively. I think what has hurt Toms River East in this game has been the miscues. If they can clean that up, I think they can get back in this game and they can keep it competitive.
Only one way to find out. We'll have to stay around for the second half here on TR Schools TV. We'll take a little break, enjoy the halftime festivities, and we'll be back with the second half of the Hawks and the Raiders in just a little while, so stick around.
In fact, through all options, choose to go to the moon and they continue to do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that's it. The serve to organize and give you the best.
Please, we miss you. I told Risha, I was like, I was gonna be late. Yeah, I just like really didn't want to do. So obviously it was a joke. You watch this shit to go right. I really love that. Bye.